So now we'll switch from cats to coyotes. I'm introducing Karin Saucedo with the Project Coyote. She is the Texas State Coordinator. Welcome to the stage, Karin.
Thank you, Romy. Back in 2022, a coyote approached a toddler on a front porch, and the toddler ended up in the hospital. It happened in the White Rock Valley neighborhood right here in Dallas. It made headlines. People were scared. As a result, authorities killed the entire family of coyotes living in the area. That neighborhood, it's where I rode my bike as a kid. It's where I grew up. It's where my dad still lives. I had encountered him myself on my dad's walkway. I had even set up a trail camera to learn more. My name is Karin Saucedo. I'm the Texas State Coordinator for Project Coyote, and I help expand the organization's programs and campaigns across the state. Project Coyote protects wild carnivores and promotes compassionate coexistence through education, science, advocacy, and coalition building. We fundamentally shift the way coyotes, wolves, bears, bobcats, and other carnivores are viewed and treated to create a North America where humans and wild carnivores coexist and ecosystems thrive. I'm also a wildlife conservation photographer and founder of Song Dog Watch, a local nonprofit dedicated to helping individual coyotes and changing the conversation around coexistence. I've spent nearly a decade studying and photographing coyotes. And that incident weighed heavily on me, not just because of the child, but because I felt strongly that this outcome could have been avoided. He was a young coyote and clearly inexperienced. It was springtime, which means somewhere nearby his mom was likely nursing pups in the den, and the rest of the family was working overtime to feed her. Easy meals were everywhere. Trash left out, pet food, bird seed, free-roaming backyard chickens and peacocks, even someone's beloved small dog, unleashed and unprotected. Over time, he became more comfortable being in the neighborhood, cutting through yards, sniffing strollers in parks and on school playgrounds. He was even documented on a Ring camera grabbing an Uber Eats delivery that was delivered to the wrong address. I knew this was escalating. I reached out to state officials, hoping they could educate the community before something happened. I knew my voice alone wouldn't be enough, but no action was taken. When the incident with the toddler occurred, the response was swift and lethal. 4 coyotes were killed by wildlife services, but what wasn't done was just as telling. These coyotes paid with their lives, but the root problems weren't addressed. At the time, there was no education, no dedicated wildlife staff, and no ordinances against feeding wildlife. No long-term plan. Since then, Dallas has taken an important step forward. The city now has an incredibly talented, dedicated wildlife officer who monitors coyote activity, investigates reports, and provides outreach and education to the public. It's a huge move in the right direction, but it should not have taken a tragedy for us to get there. We often react to wildlife with fear instead of context. But coyotes have lived alongside humans for thousands of years. They're intelligent, incredibly adaptable, and ecologically important, helping keep rodent populations in check and ecosystems in balance. Conflict with coyotes doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when food is left outside, when habitats are fragmented, when people, even unintentionally, teach wild animals to lose their fear. Most coyotes never cause problems. They avoid us. They roam our neighborhoods in the middle of the night. They live in creek corridors, green belts, and hidden pockets of urban nature. If it wasn't for surveillance cameras, we might not even know they were there. When coyotes start consistently appearing during the day or approaching people, it's a sign that something's out of balance. Unsecured trash, intentional feeding, a lack of education, it all adds up. And when those early warning signs are ignored or avoided, both people and animals end up paying the price. This is why I do what I do. Through Project Coyote and my own nonprofit, I work to fill that education gap. I help communities understand how to prevent conflicts, interpret coyote behavior, and take simple, effective actions that protect both pets and predators. I also advocate for better data, more research, and stronger collaboration between agencies and the public. So we're not just reacting after the fact, we're preparing ahead of time. And we don't have to start from scratch. Project Coyote has developed a model coyote coexistence plan, a comprehensive science-based framework that any city or community can adopt. It outlines clear protocols for responding to sightings, establishing feeding ordinances, launching public education campaigns, and using non-lethal strategies to reduce attractants and reinforce healthy coyote behavior. It's a proactive approach designed to prevent conflict before it ever begins. And it empowers communities to respond with consistency, compassion, and accountability. Because education is not a luxury, it's a responsibility, especially in cities like Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, even in the rapidly growing Rio Grande Valley, where people and wildlife are sharing space every single day. That young coyote in the walkway didn't have to die. Neither did his family. But unless we shift the way we talk about these animals, unless we invest in education, compassion, and science, it will keep happening. The question isn't whether we live with wildlife. We already do. The real question is, how do we want that relationship to look? We can keep reacting in fear, or we can lead with education, compassion, and preparation. If we want safer communities and healthier ecosystems, we have to start treating coexistence as a responsibility, not an afterthought. I challenge you to help build that future. Let's build communities where animals aren't just tolerated, but understood, respected, and allowed to share the places we call home. I believe we can get there, and it starts with awareness, empathy, and action. Thank you.